sort of regime, or in a way that globalization of trade might start getting hampered. Because if all of us start feeling unsecured about how we've been able to manage it, we'd like to build capability as a nation to address future outbreaks by ourselves. And therefore, we will start building capabilities to that extent. And by that design, we will be less collaborative. And that's the one I would be most worried.
We have the pleasure of welcoming Jasdeep Singh today to our interview series. I'm Aishwarya Jain from the peopleHum team. Before we begin, just a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM, that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year, and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Jasdeep Singh is the Chief Strategy Officer at Cipla. He has a PhD in Chemical Engineering from the University of Cambridge and is an expert in the pharmaceuticals and private equities domain. He has also co-founded a consulting firm during his doctorate studies and is someone who is keen to keep learning and update his knowledge. With a great academic background, Jasdeep has proven himself as an amazing professional who can handle any crisis with ease. We are happy to have someone of his expertise in our interview series. Welcome, Jasdeep. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you, Aishwarya. Very pleased to be here.
Our pleasure. So, Jasdeep, I want to begin by asking you a very, very straightforward question. As someone who is responsible for strategy, what is it that keeps you awake at night?
Very powerful question. Very, very powerful. I must tell you that the answer is very simple. And what keeps me awake is actually how to make problems simple in today's, what we are calling as the VUCA world, right? Where the volatility and uncertainties are unparalleled. Uh, the role of a strategy officer is to still keep the strategy as simple as possible. And strategy is often construed as something very complex, and usually it comes with a very heavy presentation and layers of information. But I think if the organization and the strategy officer can articulate the strategy in a simple manner, I think that's the best win, right? And I think that is one thing that I continue to think, as to how to make some of our strategic thinking simple and reachable to most of our employees, right? And you would imagine that in every organization, there is a straddle of employees with different skill sets, and therefore, how do you make sure that even the first line person in your organization is able to understand your strategy, right? Because he's the one who's interacting with the customer and who's your inner foundation, right? So that's the biggest challenge, I would say, or that keeps me awake. The second, I would say, is how do you pick some of these trends which are just emerging, right? And they have not fully blown out yet. And that's the success, right? I mean, for a strategy officer to know in the pharmaceutical industry that biosimilars wave is coming is fairly obvious, right? But who picked this up about 10 years ago and was able to action some of that? That's success for a strategy officer. So it's not about finding trends that have played out or are playing out. It's the genesis and those seeds of trends that will play out, right? And I think one continues to be on the ground for that, to see that these are some of the trends that may shape the industry. And there are these black swan moments like what we have, what's happening right now, which is completely unpredictable. But these are some of the things. This is probably the third element that will keep me awake. But I think the first two, because the third one is highly unpredictable. But the first two you can tackle if you're putting your might behind it, and you sort of ground it to your industry and understanding your customer, I think you'll be able to answer, you know, you'll probably sleep more peacefully.
Absolutely. And that is just so interesting, right? The way you have to kind of understand so many perspectives and bring together something that's robust and solid, and to also anticipate what might be the next trend wave. What do you think is the crystal ball that you use while setting strategy, and how do you balance risk and innovation in the mix?
I think, I want to take some time to elaborate on the innovation part, right? I think innovation is often, again, misconstrued, right? In my industry, for example, an innovator is often thought as a person who's bringing a new chemical entity into the market or is addressing a new disease. But to me, innovation is equally bringing the same drug, which is probably in the injectable format, to, let's say, oral format. This enables a better adherence, a less psychological burden on the patient, right? So this is an innovation of what we call a drug form, right? And there are innovations in how you deliver drug or how you are servicing a patient. So to me, innovation is has to be in the DNA of a company to survive in today's world, right? So I wouldn't, I don't balance innovation and risk. Innovation has to be ingrained in an organization to growth. I parallel innovation in growth, right? Uh, so then the question really becomes, how do I manage risk? And to me, the answer for that as well is twofold. I think one is a lot of work around data. I think we are very fortunate in today's time that we do get lots of data stream, but we are also just being very rudimentary in the way we are analyzing it and the way we are finding implications of how we sort of use that data. So I think that's where the experience comes in, right? Some of the people who've been in the industry for a bit are able to correlate to the general trends, and some of the youth is bringing this amazing data analytics. And I think it's the synergy of these two that to me will solve the risk problem in the best possible manner. So I think it's not about innovation or what is the degree of innovation I'd like to build. In the organization, that's all we do, right? Because we are a growth driven industry. So the focus is how do we mitigate risk? And to me, it's data plus experience, and it's the people and the data feeds that have to solve for this.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense because I think innovation is something that you by default, that's already there on the table. What is it that you kind of bring apart from that, which is going to add value? So, do you believe that we are looking for mayhem in some segments and organizations to change their strategies significantly for others, or will this like define a new normal now?
Yeah. Again, Aishwarya, to me, this is a very loaded question, and a question at the time when the event is playing out. And I there is absolute certainty in the fact that some of the industries are going through enormous amount of pain. You see, data and the way lockdowns have happened across geographies, the way supply chains have got impacted, the way labor force has migrated. I think they're all clear indicators, and the numbers on growth and the GDPs and results of the corporates are going to be out. So I think we will see that there is a fair bit of impact. Some industries, of course, mostly the essential industries, have been protected to some extent. Now, saying that, I think while we are protected, it is not that that has made us complacent, right? As an industry in pharma, and I just don't speak of, I speak as an industry person. I think each of us are seeing whether this is a point of inflection for new trends to play, and therefore for us strategically to prepare ourselves for the new normal. And I think there will be a new normal, and that new normal is a function of how long does this event play? Now, there are a couple of psychological biases we are all born with. Not born is probably the wrong word. These are some of the things that you know we are cognitively tuned to. One is called the primacy bias, the other is called the recency bias, and the other is called the peak end rule. So, how the event starts has a large impact on us. How the event ends has a large impact on us, and how intense was the pain has a large impact on us. So, these are the three things, right? I think the recency, which is how it ends, is very much in our hands, right? How coordinated are the governments in solving for COVID? Uh, how is the political capital going to manage the economic capital, right? Because the political have the mandate to both take care of people as well as the economy, right? So they are in a very delicate situation to manage both, and they have to do pretty good job for the recency bias to be as good as possible, right? Because if we close this in a good manner, I think the new normal, if I would say, wouldn't be would be different from today, but it wouldn't be dramatically different. But if we leave uh, this impact in an uncoordinated manner, and we see this prolonging over a period of time because of the uncoordinated responses, because at the end of the day, if one economy opens and the people keep traveling, and this vicious cycle won't end, I think then this pain is going to psychologically bring a very big new normal, right? But what I see in the world right now, at least some of the political capital have taken some strong decisions with limited data. Uh, I mean, I see US, which has very robust data and is taking decision based on that particular data. But some of the other economies where data isn't as robust, I think the political engine has been able to take some good decisions. And to that extent, I think and I'm an optimist, I'm hoping that this coordinated response is able to find a good closure to this problem. And I'm not saying that the new normal isn't going to be better normal, but the shift uh, is not going to be dramatic, is how I see it. But again, it's a function of how long does this go on for.
Right, right. And so you do work with different kinds of people in the company. Like let's say the gig economy, right? So do you think that after the crisis is over or due to the crisis, the gig economy will still prevail, or do you think the business model will change forever due to this crisis?
Ashwarya, there will be certainly a new normal, right? So to say that there will be more tech intervention for sure, there will be more digital based interactions for sure. There will be workforce that will be variable for sure. The question is the degree of it, right? And I think gig economy isn't going anywhere, but I think people are getting appreciation, because there have been large migration of people to the towns. But I think this event may bring a certain receding to that and appreciation for what they've been doing in their local towns and villages, etc. Right? But I think technology will be a great enabler. I don't see that taking away jobs.
Right, right. Yeah, I believe in that too. Technology can be a great enabler if you just use it in the right way. And as a chief strategic officer, what do you think are the three most significant people KPIs that you track to define success?
See, in a function like strategy and some of the other support functions, I think while we are all enabling revenue and profitability support to the front line and to the business units, I think that clearly is a shared KPI with the businesses. You cannot be in departure from that, right? So strategy functions have to ensure that they're neck is online as much as the business units are online. Right? We have to feel hands in gloves with them when they are executing on the front line. So to that extent, there should be fair bit of KPIs of some of the new initiatives that the business takes that should be part of the strategy. So to your point and earlier question, any strategic initiative that the strategy office undertakes and when it gets executed, there'll be certain KPIs associated with it. Those KPIs should always be part of the strategy office too. And that will create that stickiness for the strategy function to be part of the execution as well. That's one. But the other ones, which slightly are more generic but more relevant for a strategy office, I would say one would be agility. And this goes back to my point of one of the earlier things that I talked about, or was finding those trends on the ground level that will explode or create a micro segment for you to be differentiated. I think that agility behavior, right, difficult to quantify, but one has to one has to be able to practice this and see some of these things happening for you to be able to quantify. So agility to me is one of the key skills, if I may say, that should be part of the strategy office. The second I would say is perseverance. Again, if I really think through, a lot of these ideas will hit you and will get shot down in the larger complex organizations. So therefore, to persevere with some of these things is another important skill I would think that a strategy office should have. And the last, which goes without saying, is integrity. To me, companies can completely falter if you're not true to putting out the right strategic intent, used on right data, uh, right insights, etc. So I think these are some of these three skills, again, very difficult to quantify. But the KPIs, if those are hard grained, should tally to a great proportion with how the business looks at their own KPI, because then only they'll appreciate your skin in the game.
Right. So that's a wonderful insight that you've told us. And finally, wrapping up the interview, I want to ask you if you have any other important sound bites that you would like to leave our viewers with.
For the viewers who probably want to learn a little bit on the strategy function, many people, many employees come to me and express their interest in joining an office like this. I think I would urge a lot of people to spend time in functions like these, you know, uh, specifically for about 2 to 4 years. I think it's a great way to become creative. It's a great way to understand the organizations cross functionally. Otherwise, you can sometimes become expert in one function or the other. And there's also, it's like an engineering degree, to be very honest. That opens avenues for you to explore multiple other careers, right? And a strategy function exposes you so much that it allows you to then figure out what's the real area of passion for you, because you will see a bit of sales, you will see a bit of marketing, you will see a bit of um, bringing all of this together, thinking through trends, implications, certainty of events. So I think it's a great place uh, for learning, and to me, it's one of the key skills that one needs to have through his or her career, to make sure that as they become leaders, they are able to visualize uh, some of the some of the implications of the trends that will play out later, right? And there has to be an appreciation for some of these things, and you don't need to be uh, don't need to be here for like decades to have an appreciation for strategy. You can spend a short tenure of your time. So I actually urge people to spend some time in strategy functions and learn about the organization in the width it brings.
Absolutely. I think from our conversation, it's been very interesting to understand, how strategy plays out and what are the elements that you need to think about. And I think it's using your right brain as well as left brain
Yeah.
to understand so many things, so many layers of it, understanding between the sheets. So it's really been wonderful, understanding that. And thank you so much, Jasdeep, for taking out time today for us. I really, really appreciate you sharing your views with us, and it's been a learning experience for all of us.
Thank you, Aishwarya. It's been a pleasure talking to you as well, and look forward to people doing more of this with many other experts. It's always nice to get to learn on what people are sharing. And today, this is another trend, right? I think a lot of these courses are moving online. A lot of these learnings are moving online. I think mentorship tomorrow may be online, right? And some of these trends one has to capitalize on, and I appreciate the effort that peopleHum is doing uh, to to facilitate learning through the digital channel. So congratulations to you as well.
Thank you so much for those kind words. It's really, because of people like you, and that's food for thought, really. Mentorship moving online. That's quite interesting. So thank you for a wonderful conversation, and let's keep in touch. Have a safe and healthy time ahead of you.
Thank you. You too. Take care.